Today's lesson is about adding and subtracting integers using a number line model, but given a real-world situation. So our learning target states, I can write and solve equivalent adding and subtracting integer number sentences given a real-world situation using a number line model. So there's a lot packed into that one learning target. Essentially what we're going to be doing is reading a real-world situation, writing both the addition and subtraction number sentence that matches the real world situation, and then we're going to solve it using the number line. So when we're talking about real world situations, it's important to kind of pause and think about when you read a story problem, what words make you think of adding or subtracting? So in the chart, it says words that tell us to. On the left, it says adding or positive integers. And on the right, it says subtracting or negative integers. Pause the video and kind of jot down a few words that make you think what would indicate to tell you to start adding in a problem or to add a positive number, and what might make you think to subtract or like a negative number in a problem. So go ahead and pause the video and try it out. So on the screen, you can see for adding integers or thinking about positive integers, some of the words are gaining, if you receive something, depositing, like depositing money, increasing, rise, go up, earn, climb, above sea level, getting warmer. Those are all words that kind of indicate that you would be going up, increasing, adding positive numbers. And then on the right, for subtracting negative integers, here are some of the words that maybe you came up with. Losing money, spending money, withdrawing, decreasing, a drop, go down, even the basement of a building, a loss, owing someone money, falling, being below sea level, it's colder out, a penalty, a loss, a fee. So a lot of different words that we can kind of think about when we're thinking, when do I add, when do I subtract? Are we talking about positive? Or are we talking about negative? So keep those words in mind. Go ahead and pause the video to write them down if you need to, but we're going to go ahead and dive into our first example. So in our first example, the real world situation we have is the temperature this morning is 8 degrees Celsius. Your weather app tells you the temperature will drop 3 degrees Celsius by the end of the school day. What should be the temperature at the end of the school day? Write a number sentence to represent the situation and model it on the number line. So we're going to start with looking at kind of some key words. So when I look here, it says the temperature this morning was 8 degrees Celsius. So if I'm trying to write a number sentence and I'm trying to write an addition and a subtraction number sentence, I know that it was 8 degrees this morning and I cannot change that. So I'm kind of writing some fill in the blanks. So I know I started at 8. So in my subtraction and my addition number sentence, I'm starting with 8 degrees. And then it says it's going to drop 3 degrees. Now, dropping indicates that it would be subtracting or a negative, depending on how we look at it. So one of the number sentences that you could have written might have been, if you're thinking dropping 3 degrees, you might think, okay, it's 8 degrees. And then the subtraction sign might mean drop. So it would drop 3 degrees. Now, likewise, in the addition number sentence, I could think about it as adding negative 3 degrees. So either way, I need to show that drop with a single negative sign. So I could either add a negative or I could subtract a positive. Either way, I'm showing that it was 8 degrees this morning and it's going to drop 3 degrees by the end of the school day. So when I do that, I know that 8 minus 3 is 5, and 8 plus negative 3 should be 5. Let's go ahead and model it on the number line to be sure. As a reminder, when we're going to model it on a number line, we use our addition number sentence. So I'm going to go ahead and start at 0. I'm going to go to the right 8. And then my next number is I'm adding a negative, which means I'm going to go ahead and go to the left 3, 1, 2, 3. And I can confirm that it would be 5 degrees Celsius at the end of the school day. So if you notice, the questions below the number line were kind of answered in the model in that it says, is there another equivalent number sentence to represent the situation and model on a number line? If yes, then write it. So we did write both the addition and the subtraction number sentence above. So there is two ways that you could write this problem. And then the last question says, does this number sentence make sense? So both these number sentences do make sense. Okay, both of them make sense. I start at 8 degrees and I'm showing that I'm dropping 3 degrees. You might have a preference of which one kind of makes more sense to you. Maybe you like the 8 minus 3 equals 5 because it's a little bit simpler. There's not two symbols next to each other. But essentially both are showing still that you start at 8 degrees and you drop 3 degrees. So let's look at the second example. The second example says the football team gained 4 yards on the first play and then gained 6 more yards on the next play. How many yards were gained on that set of downs? Write a numbered sentence to represent the situation and model it on a number line. So when I'm looking at my real world situation, I'm going to kind of underline or highlight keywords. So the football team gained 4 yards on the first play and then they gained 6 more yards. These are all telling me that I'm adding or that I have a positive number. So if I was to write a number sentence right now, my mind just goes to I have 4 yards gained plus 6 more yards gained. And I know that 4 plus 6 should give me 10. If I was to model a number line, I start at 0. I'm going to go to the right 4, and then I'm going to go to the right 6 more. And sure enough, I should end up at 10 as my answer. Now, the next sentence says, is there another equivalent number sentence to represent the situation and model it on a number line? If yes, then write it. So right now you might be thinking, no, there's not another way to write it. But mathematically speaking, there is. So remember how we did keep, change, keep, add, opposite to convert our subtraction problems to addition? You can do the same thing for an addition problem. You can always keep, add, opposite for that too, or keep, change, opposite. Meaning that I would take 4 plus 6 equals 10. And I would look at this adding 6. So adding 6 is the same thing as subtracting a negative. So technically, this is another way I can mathematically write it. 4 minus negative 6 would still give me positive 10 or 10 yards gain on a play. So mathematically, yes, there's another way to write it. Now that question of does it make sense? In math, unfortunately, not everything always makes sense. So yes, there's another equivalent way to write it, but no, this probably doesn't really make sense because when we might read this number sentence, it might say like, I have 4 yards and then I'm going to take away a loss of 6 yards. But if you know anything about football, that maybe comes from a penalty or something like that, but we're not really going to be taking away those 6 yards. So let's go and look at 2 more we do examples. Okay, just kind of straightforward ones. So for each problem, we're going to write 2 equivalent number sentences to represent the situation. So we're always writing addition and subtraction, even if it doesn't make sense. So in our first we do problem, it says an elevator starts at floor -4 and then goes up 6 floors. What floor did the elevator stop at? So when I read this, I see the floor is at -4. So I'm thinking -4 right away. So this is where I'm starting. So I'm going to start with a -4 because I can't change where I start. That's how many floors below the ground I am. So I might make myself kind of a little fill in the blank to remind me I need an addition and a subtraction number sentence, but where I start is not going to change. So then I'm going to go up. It says 6 floors. If I go up 6, I'm thinking a positive 6. So when I look at my addition sentence, that makes sense that I would just go ahead and add the 6 positive floors there. On my subtraction number sentence, it might not make as much sense. Because again, if I put a positive 6 here, those two number sentences aren't going to be the same. -4 plus 6 and -4 minus 6 are not the same. I need this to show really +6. And how I'm going to do that is really, I'm going to have to subtract a -6 to really get me that I'm going up 6 floors by taking away a negative, because two negatives make a positive. So for me to go and solve those problems, I'm going to always look at my addition sentence to give me the instructions to move. So my first number is -4, so I'm going to go 0 back to -4. And then my second number is +6. So I start at four floors below, and then I'm going to go up 6 floors. So up 4, 5, 6. And where I land should be at 2. So it looks like the floor stopped at floor 2. So the answer to both those number sentences would be +2. -4 plus 6 equals 2. -4 minus -6 also equals 2. This is, again, another story problem that might not necessarily make sense in both forms. I think the addition sentence makes way more sense, but there is an equivalent subtraction problem that still models this situation. All right, and then in the second example, we have your friend owes you $10. They help you with your homework. So you decide to take away $7 of their debt. How much do they still owe you? So I'm seeing this word owe a lot. So let's break it down. Your friend owes you $10. I'm going to start there. My friend owes me $10. So that's where I'm going to start with. So owing meaning that it's a negative number. -10 would show that someone owes me money. Then I kind of wrote my fill in the blanks for an addition and a subtraction sentence. So then the next piece says they help you with your homework. So you decide to take away $7 of their debt. Take away makes me think of negative, and then $7 of the debt also makes me think of negative. So taking away can mean like subtraction. So if I look at subtraction, I'm trying to take away $7 of debt. If I'm talking about debt, that was one of our words that indicated like a negative number. So -7 would indicate a debt, and then that subtraction sign shows that we are taking away. So that shows take away, and that shows that we're taking away $7 of debt. So taking away $7 of debt is kind of thinking like that you're actually adding positive $7. It's a good thing that someone's taking away your debt. Okay. Or in this case, that you are deciding to take away your friend's debt. So let's look at modeling this on the number line so we can get our answers. If we start at 0, we're going to go to the left 10 to show that your friend owes you $10 right now. They help you with your homework. So then you decide to take away $7 of their debt, which means that you are really going to go to the right 7 to show that they're not owing you as much money. When I follow that arrow down, I land at -3. So -10 plus 7 equals -3. -10 minus -7 also equals -3. So you look at this problem, they both model this problem really well. If you're looking at the literal words used in the real world situation, that subtraction problem probably matches it a little bit better because you're showing how they're taking away that debt, but also adding a +7 as an addition sentence also makes sense. Okay. So again, you can start with the addition or the subtraction problem first. You can always use that keep, add, opposite, or that idea of adding a positive is the same thing as subtracting a negative, or that adding a negative is the same thing as subtracting a positive. So you can use kind of those languages to help you convert from one form to another if you're kind of getting stuck on how to convert to find the other equivalent number sentence. On the next page, you have 4 more problems to try. They are your you-do problems. Again, you're going to be writing 2 equivalent number sentences to represent the real world situation, model them on the number line, and solve for them. Okay. Please check with your teacher for the answers. Thanks for listening and good luck.